TOMz.
All you beautiful South Africans, you newbies, to a wonderful and exciting episode of TOMz SABC 1, Mzansi for sure, the coolest technology and science show, SABC Education.
Today, as we feel, I go by the name of CADDY, pronounced Caddy, and I'm with my co-lovely presenter, TOMz. And as we feel, we are the only guys that keep you updated on all the cool and fresh science and technology in Mzansi. So, TOMz, what do you have for these guys today?
The science of the khalasi. I mean, the khalasi di everywhere more phelang mo teng. Khalasi o ifumana ka mohara a light bulb, o kgona ho thola ka mohara spili, ha o shebile festere ebile la o sebedisa koloi ya hao. In fact, hona jwanong you are staring at glass by looking at your TV.
So sifuna ukwazi namhlanje ukuthi iglass yenziwa kanjani nokuthi yenziwe ngani and futhi sabe sibona ukuthi abantu bala eMzansi bayenzani with this cool substance.
So here what's coming up on today's show.
Let's go get it.
Samele rona ha re tjhakela glass forming academy kwana ko Pitori to meet some local glass blowers. Re bona hore bona ba etsa jwang glass. Re tweet about one of Swaziland's famous master glass blowers ha re celebrate our African legends. Discover some cool facts about glass and find out hore yona ba etsa ka eng. Samele rona ha re lo bona hore ba produce jwang glass on a large scale. Learn about the evolution of glass making and get some awesome career advice from our guests on today's episode.
So what exactly is glass? And the futhi iyenziwe ngani. Samile sayibuza you guys, and this is what you had to say. So check it out.
Mkhalasi ugadira mafastere.
They can make bowls,
bottles.
Into engiyaziyo ngeglass ukuthi iyashesha ukufa, it's quite fragile and angazi kahle ukuthi ikhandwe ngani.
Ntwe ke tsoba ngakhalasi kuri kwa santeng.
It's because the windscreen they're bigger and they have like some form of plastic or rubber in them. That's why they look so hard.
Glass is not a solid compound. It's made out of different particles which form its base.
Iglass yama windscreen ngiyacabanga ukuthi iqinile ukudlula le sisebenzise etsheni emakhaya kanjalo ya.
It can be easily broken if a lot of damage is applied onto it or force is applied onto it. Like when we drive in and a stone hits, it can crack because of the force.
Glass making involves the steps it's a two. Who futumata le who mix raw materials who molten glass and then forming the molten glass into the desired shape.
Okay, glass blowing is an ancient art that has been around since the 1st century BC, when the Syrians actually discovered that glass could be blown from the hollow tube into different shapes and molds.
So some South African glass blowers who rona khone ho ithuta ka the process and hore yona hantle e sebetsa jwang. So re tsamaile re lo tjhakela glass forming academy kwana ko Pitori boss. So take a look.
My name is Chef van Wyk. I'm the subject leader of glass design and technology at the Tshwane University of Technology. This morning we're going to blow a plate using a glass blowing method. These are the colors that we're going to use, and he is now going to gather the glass from the furnace. Okay, George. The glass has been gathered out of the furnace and it's been kept there at 1,200 degrees day and night. That's the molten glass on front of a stainless steel pipe. So now I'm going to pick up some color over here. Once you've got the glass in your hand, you need to turn the pipe quite vigorously. Picking up the chippings. I'm picking up a bit of white. This is a thicker white. Now, what we need to do now is to reheat this color. What I'm doing now, I'm melting this color into the previous color so that I can pick up some more. The color has melted in somewhat now, as you can see. Now I'm going to pick up a finer powder color. I'm now going to what we call the glory hole, which is a very hot gas oven where I'm going to melt the color in. I'm now taking the molten color over to Chimani by the glory hole, where she will be melting it in. She goes into the furnace to get the real heat to keep it hot at the back. Once she comes out, she gives it to the glass blower in the chair. The period that you keep the glass in the glory hole depends on how thick the glass is or how runny you want it. Sometimes you only want to heat the front, sometimes you only want to heat the back. But it's literally about a minute or two. Now, George is shaping the glass with a piece of newspaper. It doesn't burn him, it just creates a vacuum of steam between the glass and the newspaper. He's blowing to put a vacuum inside this bubble so we can form a vessel, because we're going to make a plate. There we go, there's the bubble. You can see the glass is expanding. All right, we've got a bubble inside there, and the glass is growing bigger and bigger. What we need to do now is to go back to the furnace where the glass is kept molten and take another layer of clear glass and encase the color inside. Okay, here comes the, slowly, George. And spin faster. It must open, spin. All right, it opens up. Now, if he holds it down a bit like this, the plate closes. So from a vessel shape like that, we have now made a bowl, and then picking up again, it closes back like that. All right, now we go back to the chair where we will take this off. I am now tapping it at the bottom so as to cool the glass, Isaac, and we are going to knock it off. So you got it? And it's off. Okay? Now, the hot plate needs to come into this kiln, and Chimani is opening the kiln with Isaac, and it goes inside here where it stays for a day and then cools down slowly. That is a plate in 20 minutes time with the team from TUT.
Swaziland ke lehaela one of the world's leading glass blowers. E ka ba la ditseba na di legend tsa lona? Well, let's go and find out.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Marangaza busipusisi marumhlanga ngumazi.
Angazi ngizwile ngama-master glass blower. It's the first time I'm hearing it from you.
Master glass blower Usbusiso Mhlanga is rated as one of the world's leading glass blowers for more than 3 decades. He has been transforming glass into the most interesting shapes. Umhlanga stumbled onto glass blowing in 1979 ngesikhathi ingwenya glass ivulwa by a Swedish aid company. He applied for umsebenzi and was a natural. Wakhethwa ukuya eSweden for 9 months ukuthola training from some of the world's best glass blowers. I-artwork kaSibusiso has been exhibited in Holland, and ama-designers asuka emhlabeni jikelele ayavakashela i-workshop yakhe. He is indeed a legend.
Must be Kabanzi how South Africa produces glass on a large scale. Then we show you guys some cool things and facts about glass, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
One of SA's leading glass manufacturers who by producers run glass on a large scale. Ana notiba hore lightning le volcano can both create glass.
TOMz.
We're back with it, and you guys are still tuned into your freshest, coolest science tech show, Konalago SABC 1 Mzansi for show. You're tuning to TOMz, brought to you by SABC Education.
And remember, we are here to keep you guys updated. Kadi trends tsa halang mona tsa technology right here mo Mzansi wa rona. Ibile ka chekulena re batla ithuta all about the wonderful magic of glass.
So it's from Kabanzi ukuthi glass iyenziwe ngani, iyenziwa kanjani, and where does it come from?
So today happy re batla ithuta ka the glass industry. Ibile ra bua hape le some amazing South Africans about yona.
Konamanje, take a look at what's coming up next.
One of SA's leading glass manufacturers who by producers run glass on a large scale. Ana notiba hore lightning le volcano can both create glass. Ana neletseba hore galase ya kgona ho recyclwa over and over again without affecting the quality of the glass. Well, here are some amazing things about glass that I bet you didn't know. Glass is traditionally made by fusing silica, which comes from mobu, with sodium carbonate and calcium oxide, also known as lime. Hutua glass ya pele mona in a formula molifatsing when molten volcanic rock started cooling down at a rapid pace. Impa notaba hore lightning lona e kgona ho etsa galase. How lightning is shapamullo, the heat sometimes fuses the sand into long glass tubes, ebitang fulgurites. The molecules in warm glass behave just like a liquid, randomly flowing and vibrating. Hasete ebata, the molecules freeze in place just like molecules in a normal solid. Impane honali mehluko omunyane. In a normal solid, the molecules freeze in a regular crystalline pattern. Kamahara khalase, molecules freeze in a random arrangement.
Mzansi is home to leading glass manufacturing companies like Consol Glass, who established themselves in 1994 and became the world glass brand it is namhlanje.
Our leading glass company, by producers run glass on a large scale, we tutor more about some amazing glass products. So, take a look.
My name is Eddie Ferreira. I'm technical manager at PFG Building Glass. PFG has got a long-standing in South Africa. We've the only glass manufacturer in the southern hemisphere that produces flat glass for the building and automotive industry. Where glass starts is basically this. It's a sand, silica, high silica content sand, very pure. Unfortunately, silica's got a very high melting point, so you cannot just use it alone. So what you need to do is you need to add some other material. And what we add with this sand is sodium carbonate, limestone. These materials are fluxing agents, and it forms part of the structure of glass. This is the loading conveyors where we receive our raw materials and we load it into our silos. And then from the silos we weigh it out. These raw materials get then combined into a mixer, and then from there that gets again conveyed on conveyor belts similar to this to the furnace. This is our anthracite scale. It's one of the numerous scales. We've got a scale for every raw material, and then after it's been weighed out, it then goes to a mixer where we mix the raw materials. Over there you can see that's the mixer where after we've weighed each raw material. So here you can see this is the mixed material, and then this is now getting conveyed to the furnaces where it will be melted up. This section is the high temperature region of making glass. We started off with the raw materials getting into the furnace, and that's where the melting process starts. Our typical temperature is around, on the crown is around 1620 degrees. Glass melts at around 1450. The first bit of this furnace is what we call the melter. That's where we're actually firing and we're actually melting the raw material. The second bit is what we call the refiner, and that is where you basically starting to cool down the glass. Now the next step in the process after melting and creating the melt is what we call the forming section. So what we've done is we've melted the raw materials and we've brought the temperature down to where you actually can start stretching the glass. It's like very toughy. And this is the bath process, and this is our control room where we operate all these functions. You can see cameras that we use. We've got the furnace cameras where we can see the combustion happening. The rest of the cameras is inside the float bath. How the process works is that you've got the molten glass, it pours into the float bath. What the float bath is, it is a sealed container containing an inert gas and liquid tin. So the temperature in there varies from 1100 degrees. At that temperature, tin is extremely molten, and it actually acts like water. The nice thing about it is tin is much more dense than glass. So the molten glass will actually float on top of the tin, and that's why it's called the float bath. The glass then flows over the molten tin, and it spreads out, and you get a nice, smooth, flat surface. So what these two bottom cameras that we're seeing here is actually that glass flowing out and starting to form what we call a spread and a ribbon. We've got machines, what we call top roller machines, which we hook onto the ribbon, and with that we stretch the ribbon into the desired thickness and width that we want. Well, what we've done is we've cooled down the glass at a controlled rate, otherwise it breaks. Then we enter, the glass is now rigid, it is essentially a solid. So now we've cut it up and we've got the desired plate size, thickness, and width. And now we are ready to pack it. So the glass goes into this, what we call the cold end. It goes to our different stacking devices. This is our robots. So what we literally do is we then pick up the piece of glass, we put it onto a pallet or into a crate. After that, it goes into the warehouse for sale to our customers.
One of the reasons Tikhalasidi Tubeha Bonolo Hakana is the loose arrangement of molecules, which makes glass brittle and crack when under stress. Reasoning will happen with an uneven surface temperature. Unbalanced expansion and contraction can cause tension and cracks. Galase kaofela di destructible. Ha galase itubeha, it can release huge amounts of energy, causing shards to travel through the air. That is why laminated glass is commonly used kama hara dikoloi. Laminated glass is made by sandwiching a sheet of polyvinyl butyryl plastic between two or more pieces of glass and bonding them together. It not only makes the glass harder to break, the broken pieces and this is why the shattered windshields look like a spider web of broken pieces.
As we thought, we'll be chatting with you guys on our social session. So to leave us a comment on our Facebook and Twitter page, and who knows, maybe we'll give you guys a shout out.
The history of glass making, and some tips from South African glass blowers. We'll some cool applications for your smartphones and get some cool career advice from you know who. TOMz. TOMz mo SABC 1 Mzansi for sure, proudly brought to you by SABC Education.
And then we're finding out how South Africans are making all kinds of things using all cool technologies. And then we're focusing on the making and creation of glass.
The properties and the uses of glass. The techniques
we're learning about the trades of the trade from South African experts in glass, and not forgetting giving you guys some cool career tips and advice.
So here's what's still to come on today's show. The history of glass making. Some amazing things. Check out some awesome glass apps for your smartphone and get some cool career advice from our experts on today's show. The art of glass making is said to have been practiced for over 4,000 years. The history and the development of this craftsmanship.
Some of the earliest examples of glass making are ancient Egyptian beads with glass coating. It was around 1500 BC that a method using amabhodlela and jars was developed. The blowing of glass was discovered by Assyrians in the 1st century BC. Around 1965, George Ravenscroft had produced a vessel of lead glass, zokala, also known as crystal. During the 20th century, the glass making industry almost completely merchandised. Scientific knowledge of the physics and chemistry of glass also helped to create special glass for different purposes. The first fully automatic bottle machine in 1903, laminated safety glass in 1928, fiber glass in 1931, and float glass in 1959. Namhlanje sebenzisa ama-glasses for lenses, light bulbs, tableware, transportation, and the list goes on and on.
At the beginning of the episode, Sambile Zavakashela a workshop at the Glass Forming Academy. Ubona how glass blowers do their thing. So as we're to see what type of other glasses they can produce. Let's go.
Glass blowing is an age-old tradition that's got a history of about 2,000 to 3,000 years. We teach glass blowing at the Tshwane University of Technology at the Fine and Applied Art Department. You have basic 3 years that you work in. Your initial first year of education would be glass cutting, putting images onto glass, where you go on to your second year where you can specialize in glass blowing or bead making. We call it flame working or kiln working. Glass blowing is not for the tender at heart. It's rather a busy, noisy, hot and exciting endeavor to practice. We are recycling old bottles and things and then melting it down. Glass melts at 1,200 degrees, and that is what we use in our furnaces. The furnace stays on 24 hours a day to melt the glass down. So we melt it overnight and we have glass ready for each day. After your studies here, we have found that numerous students have set up their own glass blowing studios where we try to place our students, obviously the people that do the best. We also teach a design aspect at the Tshwane University of Technology. We teach glass design, we teach cutting and polishing, there's flame working. So it is much based on a small business enterprise where you can start up your own studio or fit into existing studios.
Now we want some amazing shapes you can make by blowing glass. Chihuly is an app that celebrates umsebenzi of artist Dale Chihuly. The app makes glass blowing digital. It allows you to blow into your phone to create your own virtual art. By blowing into your phone, it mimics the effect of blowing into glass. It allows you to shape your design, add color and texture, and you can also share your art on Facebook and Twitter. Ngabe ufuna ukungcolisa izandla zakho, kunama DIY apps amaningi available, like the basic stained glass making app for Android. Inama instruction videos demonstrating skills a beginner needs to get started on stained glass, from cutting to preparing the glass up to the finished product. For more info, visit our website on www.tomz.co.za and follow the links.
It is that time of the show, Buffet, where we chat to you guys on our social sessions. Konaragu TOMz live. So if you want to all you gotta do is just log on Twitter and on Facebook, tweet us or comment on our Facebook page. Kipani or send a shout out to your friend or anything. Okay, moving on to Facebook, I've got Uprasi asking if it's really possible for a human voice to break glass.
Scientists have actually proved that the human voice can break glass. Okay, where's that sound when you clink a wine glass? That's the one. If a person sings at the same tone as the ringing note, it will cause the glass to vibrate. And the louder the person sings, the more it will vibrate.
The glass experts are on for more career advice and tips. So, mamelang, because this, I'm coming at
The glass industry is a very exciting industry to work in, and there's various career options available. Chemical engineering is a very proliferant career. You can go study chemical engineering at the university, or you can do it to get a diploma in chemical engineering with a technical background. Mechanical engineering, you go study that. You can go and study BCom degree, where you can go into the finance, you can go into the sales. Glass is a fast-moving consumer good, so it's high production, high sales.
Hello, Rubata. More information regarding today's episode was at www.tomz.co.za. Let's go hello to Twitter and on Facebook.
That we take for granted go through such an interesting process to end up in our cars, homes, offices, and schools. But before we sign off, Bafetu, let's recap on today's episode.
Re checked the Glass Forming Academy with the technique sebedisang ya glass blowing. Re celebrated la master glass blower Sibusiso Mhlanga. Ra le bontsha hore di volcano tsona le di lightning tsona di etsa jwang kgalase. Re checked a South African glass manufacturing company. Re le bontshitse some cool glass applications for your smartphones, and we got some great career advice from our experts on today's show. So if you want more information, go to www.tomz.co.za and tell us what you think about the science of glass on Facebook and on Twitter. Party ya rona ya today ya science and technology unfortunately e setse e fedile empa neng re tla tlhakana next time ha re tswela pele we ithuta ka science and technology and everything around us.
Ngakho Bafethu to tune in for another fresh episode of TOMz Konalago SABC 1 Mzansi for sure, brought to you by the SABC Education. We are out.
Next time on TOMz, rona re tla re kgone go ithuta ka the science and technology of wood. Ithute go re sebedisa jwang maplanka all around us every day. See how wooden furniture is made and join us for woodworking class. Remember to watch TOMz every Monday and Tuesday at 4 p.m. only on SABC 1 Mzansi for sure.